This is seaside goldenrod, and it is the nectar source that fuels the monarch migration along the East Coast. It just started blooming yesterday, and that was just in the nick of time because the monarchs are expected to come through tomorrow, so they'll have something to nectar on. My name is Denise Gibbs, and I'm a park naturalist by profession. I'm doing this study on my own to help with monarch conservation and collect data to learn more about the migration because I love this place. You know, I'm out here every day during the migration from before sunrise till after sunset. That's really a naturalist's dream, to be in a place like this all day long. It's sensory overload. There's so much to see. Peregrine falcons shooting through, there's skeins of cormorants in the air, there's shorebirds everywhere, swarms of dragonflies, so much beauty, so much wildlife. I've been tagging here at Chesapeake National Wildlife Refuge for 15 years, and during that time I've tagged about 5,000 monarchs, and of those 5,000 I've had 11 recoveries in Mexico. When I started, it wasn't known at the time whether or not there was a defined and measurable monarch migration along the East Coast. And there is indeed an East Coast migration going right along the coast here. I've seen them come through where they've dealt with weather, hurricanes, wind, and they've used up all their fat reserves flapping to stay off the ocean and on the land. And when that happens, their abdomens are so lean that they come down to nectar, and I've tagged them at that point, and they've stayed for 5 days in the same spot nectaring. Chincoteague is a critical stopover for the monarchs. If you look at a map of where they've come from, you know, they've been through Ocean City, where there's not much natural habitat or nectar sources. So by the time they hit Assateague, they're pretty hungry. This last generation of monarchs that emerges from its chrysalis in late August, early September, that's the generation that's going to migrate. They're going to migrate to Mexico. When February comes around, they'll begin their northward migration. Usually they have enough energy to make it to Texas. They mate, lay eggs, and then that generation that overwintered in Mexico will die. Then those eggs will hatch, the caterpillars will feed if there's enough food, and then they'll pupate, and when they emerge from their chrysalis, they continue the northward migration. Butterflies in general, they are very frail and delicate. You wouldn't want to hold them like this and put a tag on their wing. But the monarchs are pretty tough. They're built for flight. They're built for long distance flight. They have very thick wing membranes. They have very well-developed thoracic muscles, flight muscles. So they're pretty tough and they're pretty strong. So it's not a frail, delicate little thing. It's a pretty tough butterfly that's built for long-distance migration. It's 2,000 miles from Virginia to the Mexican sanctuaries.
Nothing like the freedom of just being your own boss and hear the birds in the ocean during the day, you know. No phones. Really nice.
All right.
My name's Tony Thorns. I'm waterman, originally from Saxes, but I live to Sanford. It's only 4 or 5 miles from Saxes. Been oystering on the seaside for 35 years or more. I love that kind of work. Caught 4 bushels of oysters today. Been a good day. With my old buddy, Owner Ray Evans.
I've been a waterman all my life. I worked the bayside and the seaside. Like we work the seaside, when the tides make down, the wind northwest or southwest, we get a low run of tides and we make good of it.
I want to be just like my old hero here, 77-year-old. I'm 53, so I got 20 more good years left over here anyway, I hope. Seaside oystering is when the tide goes down, you go and find a rock or mud flat, wherever you see oysters, and take your culling hammer and a basket and go to work. You got to cull them up single to sell them for market. You got to be over 3 inches. And most days you'll work anywhere from 4 to 6 hours, all according to the tide. Some days the tide don't go down, you work 2 hours. On the tops of the rock, they're thick and they don't grow as good if you don't go there and work them. And on the edges, they stay in the water longer and they grow faster. And that's why they're bigger on the edges. You know, the prettier oysters are on the edges of the rocks on the seaside. You got to have hip boots. You don't have no kind of machinery. It's just you and a culling hammer. When the tide goes down, as long as you can stay bent over and cull them up, you can do it. But it's not for somebody with a bad back. The season lasts November, December, and January, 3 months. But roughly, I'd say you probably only work, month and a half, because the tides, to get late in the evenings, real early in the mornings, you can't go. Sometimes they don't go down, like I said, when the wind comes in the wrong place. This is one thing about the seaside. If the tides don't go down, you don't make any money. You just don't work.
You just see nature is foolish, really. The birds and the oysters, and you're basically your own boss. It's just a pleasure to be here. You're not the hustle and bustle of traffic, and you're in your private world for a while.
Nobody looking over your shoulder, say do it faster, do it better, you know. You're your own boss. And once you get all that freedom in you, you just can't get it out.
I was a kid in Maryland, grew up in Calvert County, very close to Brooms Island. We loved to fish, and we noticed all these things around us, and finally we realized that they were turtles, and they were diamondback terrapins. We must have seen hundreds of turtles all around our boat. We put our fishing poles down, and we're just constantly looking around and pointing, there's one, look, there's one. And we were just fascinated and completely gave up fishing and watched these turtles all around us, swimming around the boat. My name is Willem Rosenberg, and I am a professor of biological sciences at Ohio University. My career has revolved around studying diamondback terrapins in Chesapeake Bay. When I started graduate school, when reading through the literature, realized that terrapins, particularly terrapins in Chesapeake Bay, that nobody had ever studied them before. In the Patuxent River, where I'd been working for years and years and years and seen relatively few hatchlings, in the first year that I worked out on Poplar Island, I'd seen as many hatchling terrapins as I'd seen in 16 years working out on the Patuxent River. The reason we see so many hatchlings in the Poplar Island study is because there are no nest predators there. In mainland populations, raccoons and foxes dig up and eat 95 to 99% of the nests. We walk the beaches daily, and we look for tracks and for very subtle signs in the sand of where a turtle has nested. We excavate it very carefully and then measure the nest. We remove all the eggs and then weigh each egg individually. And then we put the eggs back in the nest. After about 50 days of incubation, the hatchling should be emerging. We measure the shell and we weigh them. We inject a binary coded wire tag into their right rear leg, and that tag allows us to identify that that turtle was a hatchling on Poplar Island. Upwards of 50% of the nests, instead of emerging when the hatchlings have finished incubating, will stay within the nest and not emerge until the following spring. The role of the edge for terrapins is really critical, not only for feeding, but also for their reproduction. They live in the water, they feed on the water, things like clams and snails. But then the really critical part for terrapins is that they need to be able to walk across that edge interface. If a terrapin is impeded by bulkheading or riprapping, they will lay their eggs below mean high water. The embryos, as they develop in the nest, will actually drown. When the female actually lays the eggs, their gender has not been determined. But if a female deposits that clutch of eggs in an area that is warmer, it's more likely that all of the siblings will become females. And if she places those eggs in a cooler site, then all of those siblings will become males. A large female is probably about 3 to 4 pounds. A large male will not weigh more than a pound. A female produces a nest or a clutch of anywhere from 5 to 26 eggs. They are soft and leathery, and you can actually hold one in your hands and squeeze it, and you will see that the shell will actually sort of mold to the shape of your fingers. Females, if they don't come to some demise, could live 40 to 50 years. And we have no clue how long males can live. The biggest highlight of our day is to return them as close to the place where we caught them as possible. So far, we've recaptured, using our traps and nets, over 175 of the animals that we originally marked as hatchlings at the nest. We probably have some of the first really good hatchling return data of any turtle population study that's ever been done.